On Mondays, particularly after this weekend, it's easy to do. One of the things I like to do is I find that people, fans, media, people in my space, get over their skis and overreact to a lot of things. And I try to bring a dose of reality with no feelings whatsoever. There's no emotion involved. It's completely cold-hearted. So I called this segment, and there's a lot to it. In fact, I would say maybe more than most weeks. I will admit the reality portion of this has a little bit of a gray area in some cases. Some cases not so much, but sometimes a little gray. I call this overreactions versus reality. Overreaction. And this is common. The playoffs are hopeless for your Dallas Cowboys. No. I mean, no. I can't believe I'm sitting here today saying no. And what I'm going to say after no is this. There's a pretty good reason to start believing. I'm not kidding. And no, I did not think I would be saying that. And no, I understand the metrics here. But I think reality is there are plenty of reasons to believe a playoff spot is not a ridiculous dream. Now, we can go Venn diagram on this and try to figure out, how ridiculous that is, but I don't think it's that ridiculous. And I'm going to back it up. I do want to say this first of all. The Dallas win over Kansas City on Thanksgiving Day. I've told you many times, and a lot of you don't seem to believe this. I see football as science. Okay? The Dallas-Kansas City Thanksgiving Day game was so well played and so well executed on every level. It was football at its highest art form. That game was so well played by both teams. It's just I see games as what's executed well, what is a mistake, not as a fan, and that was about as well as two teams can play. Certainly in Dallas's case, the Dallas offense, backed up by plenty of data, is one of the two best in the league. Maybe even, arguably, a better offense than the Rams. No quarterback receiver group is more dangerous than what Dallas has. Here's the qualification. Now, I know, and I've been saying it all year, and I'm not backing completely away from this, but I am telling you I think there is some reality to this, and some of the numbers are going to back this up. They do have a path. Yes, the Dallas defense has been trash. And no, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's that much better. Here's the qualifier. With Quinnen Williams, if that defense, and it appears to be doing so, can go from being total trash to being just pretty bad, Dallas is a tough out in the playoffs. Right now, their defense is on this weird scale of not very bad to bad, but it's not right now complete trash, non-existent trash. And they're so good on offense. Now, I don't know if they can keep it up. I don't know that. There's a reason. There's a reason to think they can make the playoffs. They have to score 30 or more. Now, this has not changed. This part has not changed. They have to score 30 or more every time out. But if healthy, they're that good. It's doable. That's a really good Chiefs defense. Dallas put 31 on. The New York Times has, and it's really cool, it has a playoff calculator. And it can do this interactive thing. And, look, it's based on metrics, of course. And that playoff calculator gives Dallas a 26% chance. All right, if we're going to sit here today and say, if we want to work with a number of 26%, I'm going to say I like the over on that. I think it's going to be much higher. And I think we might know this week. I think Dallas's chances are better of making the playoffs than 26%. This is on ESPN. And I know it because I've done this many times. One of the first things I say almost most Mondays of the football season is watch ESPN get over their skis on Dallas. Over their skis, they're the greatest team ever, or over their skis, they're the worst team ever. This is one of the few times that I'm telling you, I don't think the reaction to Dallas is an overreaction.
I have to tip my cap to Jerry Jones. He should stick his chest out like a peacock because they have lived up to the expectations. He said he was going to fix the defense. We knew this offense was Super Bowl caliber. Dak Prescott is playing the best football of his career. And if they get in the tournament, they're the most dangerous out potentially in the game. And listen, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. We all thought that when Patrick Mahomes came down, like, oh, God, here they come. But Dak Prescott said, you know what? And Shotty said, I'm going to throw my way to victory. I'm not going to run the football, let them call their timeouts, punt, depend on my defense. I'm going to put the game in the hands of Dak Prescott. And on that drive, when they responded, it was all slants and throws by Dak Prescott, reading the defense and making the right plays.
Yeah. Those two guys went at it. I mean, that's like I said, that was football at its highest level. You don't really play it in any way any better than that. And those two quarterbacks played the position at the highest level. And the better guy was Dak Prescott with better receivers and a better tight end. I mean, it's just crazy to be saying it. That is Bart Scott. Bart Scott, he's not a nut job. He's not a screamer. Pretty sharp guy. So right now, Dallas sits in 9th place at 6-5-1. Okay, 7 teams obviously get in. Here's the thing. This is why I think this pathway is not so crazy. Detroit is just ahead of Dallas at 7-5. Dallas plays Detroit on Thursday. Detroit's coach is dumb. Detroit's coach screws a lot of things up. If Dallas wins that game, they take the 8th spot. And don't laugh, because after Detroit, Dallas has the Vikings, the Chargers at home, then at Washington and at New York. A 4-1 run is doable. It's doable. Overreaction. Oof. The Winston Churchill-like governor of Louisiana told us not that long ago, quote, and I can't do the accent, okay? I'm sorry. I'm not even going to try to go there. He said, we're not doing that stuff anymore. And so the genius, the governor of Louisiana, made it very clear. He even said the taxpayers are having to pick up the bill on all these fired coaches from LSU. And he says the taxpayers of the great state of Louisiana, where in every educational metric, financial metric, the state is just doing fantastic. He said they're not going to do dumb long-term contracts anymore with huge buyouts. He told us that. According to Churchill, that leaves the taxpayers left picking up the tab. And I believe they're now picking up the tab on Brian Kelly, Ed Orgeron, and whoever else is there. What's the reality? The reality is they did it again, and so does everybody else. In one weekend, all of that language, all of that, we can't operate this way anymore, was thrown right out the window again for programs, including LSU, to operate that way some more. So LSU did it. They got in bed with a guy that just bailed on his team at the start of their playoff run. This is new territory in the slimy world of college sports. LSU and the brilliant people of Louisiana just hired a coach who's been fired at least 3 times that I know of. He's made 5 different head coaching stops. LSU poached an SEC coach from a program headed to the college football playoff for $12 million per year. That's not counting bonuses, and it's a deal for, I believe, 7 or 8 years. That's for Lane Kiffin, who acted as if he was crying, curled up in a ball crying because he had to leave his Ole Miss team at the start of the playoffs. So LSU, and I think this is an important word because there's something bigger going on here than just stupid financial moves. LSU poached an SEC coach, right? So nothing has changed in a sport full of fiscal insanity. Indiana, of course, locked in their coach to a long-term deal. A&M locked their coach into a long-term deal. Missouri did it. Nebraska did it. SMU did it. And they turned and lost to Cal. That was nice. They had to win at Cal to be in the championship game, and they lost. A few days after they gave their coach a long-term contract. Just keep going down the list. It doesn't matter. Things have not changed at LSU, and things have not changed anywhere in the world of college football. The train wreck that was Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly has taught this industry absolutely nothing. You want to know how crazy this sport is, how crazy it is, how stupid it is? The most recent proof, just today or last night or whenever this was, Mark Stoops was the head coach at Kentucky. His record was 72-80, and he was just fired for being really bad at his job. He gets $37.7 million to go away in cash in 60 days. He's bad at his job. They're bad at football. And they have to pay him within 60 days. They're going to have to put a bucket out of a telethon to pay the coach in the state of Kentucky. You notice, by the way, speaking of which, that the states and schools involved in the game of golden parachutes are places like Louisiana, Kentucky, and Arkansas. Not exactly states rolling in economic boom times. And there's schools not exactly producing billionaires like Stanford. There's a disturbing trend here. The poorer the state, the dumber the coach's contract. Now, the Lane Kiffin deal. I do think there's a bunch of arguments to be had. I'm fine with all of them. His move to LSU, I think, is an ethical and policy mess. And I did say policy. The ethics, and this can easily be debated, and I don't know anyone's wrong in any opinion you have on this, but the ethics of this, to me, leaving a one-loss team in its best season ever before the playoff even starts, when you have a current long-term contract in place, it's unethical, I think. Or maybe I want to use slimy. I just think that's wrong. Now, if you're a lame duck, didn't have a contract, they hadn't given you a contract, I think my argument might change. But you already have a deal. You have a long-term deal. I think it's unethical. It's slimy, whatever you want to insert. You may disagree. That's fine. Now, legally, what Lane Kiffin has done is doable. But I think ethically it's wrong. The right answer, I think, my opinion is, I'll talk about the job when the season is over. You want to hire me, you'll hire me. I'm in year 6. I got a long-term deal. This is the best run this program has ever had. And I have an obligation to finish it out. So I guess we make it to January, then you still want to hire me in January, give me a call. I think that's the right way to do it because you have a long-term contract in place. He has the right to bail at Ole Miss, and he did. That doesn't make it right. And he'll probably burn LSU as well. They will get screwed. The next stupid governor will say the exact same things, the same storylines, the same cycle will keep repeating themselves. Okay? They'll throw money at him just like everyone else. The bigger issue, and I think it's not talked about enough, and it won't be addressed, but let me give you a policy issue here. I think the policy part of this, or lack of policy that exists as usual in college sports that has no rules, no common sense, no guardrails, and no vision of any future whatsoever. I think that industry is a dumpster fire. But an example of the sport that has no rules, has no guidelines, played itself out this entire weekend. And that is, contracts should matter. Poaching another coach, the term I'm going to use, poaching another coach from within the same conference while under contract in the rest of the organized world, that's called tampering. Now, they don't call it that. They don't have rules about that. They should. The NFL does. You have a deal. I know your contract. I know your coach has a deal. I know your player has a deal. If I poach or if I call, I'm tampering. You know what the NFL has? They have tampering rules. You know what college football doesn't have? Tampering rules. The NFL cares about contracts. Okay? It cares about its brand. This is the big difference. This is why this sport is a dumpster fire, and its playoff is even worse. But the NFL cares about its brands. The owners care about the brands. I know you think they're all selfish. They don't hold a candle to the selfishness of college football programs. The NFL owners respect the business. They want the business to grow. So they care about the franchises. They want them all to do well. The NFL even cares. I know you're going to laugh. The NFL cares about fairness. Contracts mean something in the NFL. In the NFL, when this happens, and teams are accused of tampering, it happens and they are punished. A team that had their coach under contract gets compensation and or draft picks. See, this is what, college football, even with these coaching deals, and I think the players' contracts should be the exact same way. And don't say this stupid stuff to me. Well, that's socialism, Jeff. This is not the government, morons. These are franchisees that want to be in the sports business, and they're not running their sports business very well at all. No business collectively could survive operating this way when everybody is tampering and nobody does anything about it. In the NFL, you tamper, you get fined, and or my coach leaves, you get compensation. I get compensation and or draft picks. A contract matters. See, I need value for you taking my stuff, or if I want to sell you my stuff, I get something in return. When this happens, and it does happen in the NFL, and doesn't happen very often, the team that loses whoever works the deal out to be compensated for it. And I think player scholarship should be the exact same way. They should be treated like draft picks. You poach my program, you poach my scholarship, my contract. I deserve something in return. Scholarships should be viewed, these contracts should be viewed like a commodity, just like they are in the NFL. Now, they won't, I'm not pretending for a second college sports will change. But this is unethical, and it's not a good way to operate a business. See, in the NFL, they would, if you look at Ole Miss, they would want Ole Miss to do well. They want the Carolina Panthers to do well. They don't want the Dallas Cowboys to steal every Carolina player and coach, because it's better for the big business. Overreaction. Texas A&M is exposed as a paper tiger and fraud. Yeah, I said it's an overreaction. It's a tough argument to make right now, but I'll try. I think it's an overreaction. And the reality is this. I don't buy it. I know people say, "Hey, look at their schedule. This loss to Texas, you could see it coming." I don't buy that. But let me say this. That win over Notre Dame that A&M had, and boat racing a viable LSU team before their coach was fired, they got their coach fired because they just put up, 49 points on them on the road. That wasn't a terrible LSU team at the time. I think they're a dangerous team still. At the same time, you would say, well, gosh, Jeff, they were a mess against Texas. Yes, because I think that Texas trauma is real. That A&M team that was in Austin on Friday night looked just like the team Texas beat in College Station a year ago. They were tight. They were clunky. They were disorganized. They were trying to throw plays at Texas that didn't really make much sense when they could have just been running right at them. I think all I'm saying is I think Texas is so in their head, maybe the rest of the field is not. How's that for? It's not reality yet, but I think that might be the case. We'll find out pretty quickly. I think that there's no doubt there's a hang up there. I'd be surprised if A&M is bounced early. I would. Now, if they have somebody playing some of the Longhorn on their helmet, then they're going to melt down. But there's just too much talent there, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Reality. There is a sea change coming in the NFL. It's happening as we speak. But you're going to see it come playoff time, and Thanksgiving and Black Friday proved it. The Packers beat the Lions in Detroit by a touchdown. The Cowboys beat the Chiefs in Dallas in an instant classic. By the way, that's the Super Bowl teams back-to-back for Dallas. Joe Burrow proved his value, and the Bengals blasted the Ravens, 32-14 or something like that. Here's why all that is significant. The Chiefs, the Ravens, and Lions won a combined 42 regular season games a year ago. Think about this. They won 42 regular season games a year ago, and now all three will probably miss the playoffs entirely. It's probable this playoff cycle will not include someone named Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes for the first time in 7 years. Jared Goff, too. What might also be a reality, the Lions, who get Dallas next, might be in free fall. Their rocket scientist coach, Dan Campbell, down 17-14. He'll do it against Dallas, too. He did the thing he often does. He went for it on fourth down on his own 47. You know what happened to the very next series? Jordan Love turned around, threw a touchdown pass for a 10-point lead. At least the halftime show in Detroit was kind of cool. It was Eminem and Jack White. That was the upside to all of that. All right, overreactions versus reality. Yes, the college football playoff. I don't know where to put it on overreactions versus reality because it is such a nauseating, here's the way I look at the college football playoff. And I know all the debates, and we're about to have all the debates. It is such a nauseating thing. It's a nauseating debate. It is such a stupid setup. The coaches' arguments now are predictable and comical, but truth of the matter is, can you blame them? It's a beauty pageant. That's all the sport is. Hey, here's a recommendation backed up by my own experience, a great experience. And that is, I've been a client of DJC Law, and I can tell you this. You're going to get three things with DJC Law. You'll notice it right away. The difference is you will get peace of mind. They will take care of every single detail perfectly, and you will get the result you deserve. If you're injured by the negligence of someone else, fighting with an insurance company for any reason, trust me when I tell you, you will need DJC Law. Dan Christensen and his team of attorneys have a remarkable track record. I've known Dan a long time. He's a military vet. He's board certified in civil trial law, and I've been a client. So you can trust them. You will get the result you deserve. Check out teamjustice.com, and you'll see thousands of five-star reviews. The bottom line is, if you're in an accident, you need DJC Law. Contact them right away. 512-888-9999.